Hello everyone, in today's video I'm going to talk about how I am going to bulletproof my hips. And in a previous video, I think 1 or 2 videos ago, I talked about how I've been having some hip pain over the last few months that hasn't gone away, and if anything has gotten worse. And so now I'm dedicating myself to figuring out how I'm going to fix this, and I have a plan in place that I just started today, and that I'll be executing every day to make sure that in the future I no longer have any hip pain, no hip discomfort. I'm not limited by any pain anywhere in my body. Because I think it's a very disempowering feeling. You feel trapped and imprisoned in your own body when some part of it is in pain. You can't quite figure out why, what to do. And so I want to make sure that I don't feel that, because I hate this feeling of being limited by my own body. So I'm going to use that, all that discontentment towards it, and put it into figuring out how I'm going to get out of this so that I never have it again. And so, like I said, I've started the protocol on this today, and there's still aspects of it that are not quite there, which I will be discussing. However, I think I'm on the right start. I'm getting off. It's already feeling quite good. It's feeling a little better because I've been mobilizing it and strengthening the muscles on the outside of my hip, which are there to help stabilize the hip joint. So first, I want to talk about what exactly I think the injury is. Where is the pain? What's causing it? Stuff like that, and then I'll get into my protocol and how I'm going to progress it as things get better. So the injury, from what I know, because this is without any diagnostic imaging, is basically let's say this is your femur, has a little ball at the end, and it inserts into a socket. And when I move it, there's a bit of pinching that catches on the outside of the socket when I bring my leg up like this, or when I get into a deep squat or into a hinge, when I do a deadlift or something like that. It pinches at the front, and it also feels uncomfortable when I rotate my leg inwards or bring it too far out to the side. All those things cause pain, and it's either on the front or just on the inside. And then also when I walk, there's like some funny feeling in there as well. So these are all things that I need to address and resolve very quickly, because there's a lot of inflamed tissues in there. So I need to find ways to take off the pressure, to take the edge off, both for the tissues and for myself, so that they can heal. And then in the meantime, also coordinate and strengthen the musculature around it so that everything is well protected. And the way I'm doing this is with 1 to 2 mobility slash stability workouts or sessions per day. So once in the morning. The morning one's going to be more non-negotiable. The one before bed, I'm still going to try to see if once a day is enough for now, or if I can just go right to two times per day. But basically, all the equipment I need for this is just these bands. Four bands. I got a whole pack of mini bands that just came in today. Yeah. So basically, like I said, I'm gonna have to. The main things I'm doing now are to alleviate any pressure within the joint, to coordinate the musculature around it, and then also strengthen it. I'm not so concerned with mobilizing my hip right now, because it's anytime I try to mobilize it, there's pain, like a sharp pain. So that's not really my focus right now. As the pain subsides, because the tissues start to heal, that's when I can focus on mobilizing. So that'll be something I figure out and discuss in the future. But for now, I'm just trying to make sure that it is not painful and that the tissues are actually healing, as opposed to just continuously getting inflamed and getting worse. So the first thing I do in this little protocol is I take this big green band, I secure it into a spot, and I attach it as high up on my left hip, because it's the left side that hurts, as high up on my hip as possible, and I get into a deep lunge where my right knee is on the ground, and I have it pull my hip perpendicularly, so laterally to the side. And I do this so that it kind of pulls the hip joint just a little bit, and it doesn't have it pressing against the actual socket. And it takes off the pressure when I do this. And as I do this, I bring my knee in for internal rotation and out as well for external rotation. And when I bring it out, I also contract the muscles on the outside of my hip, which would be there to help protect the hip joint, help keep everything stable. And I bring it back and forth and do that about 10 times per side. I do the right side as well, even though it's unaffected, just to help it, to keep it healthy. Yeah, 10 times per side for 2 sets. And then every time I do this one, I've done it twice now. I've done it last night and this morning, and I used to do this exercise a while ago as well. Every time I do it, my hips always feel very nice and loose. And now that I've done it for the first 1 or 2 minutes, the pain is really subsided. But then, of course, since there's still a lot of inflamed tissues in there and also improper coordination with my muscles in there, the pain comes back. But not as much as it was before. And so this is one I'll for sure be doing as often as possible, just because I do feel really good after it, and it's a great one to help kind of realign things with my hip. Now the next one I do is with this band. Again, I attach it to some stable point, and then I do what are called lateral leg abductions. So basically I'm standing and it's pulling my leg in, and I'm just bringing the leg out to the side. The left one, I bring it out to the side. And the reason why I do this is twofold. First, it does the active, sort of the active function of the muscles on the side of my hip, but it also does the more stabilization function on the other side. So the leg that is down is there to stabilize, and it really works the muscles of the side of the glute. And these are all for stabilization and help stabilize the hip joint. So when I'm working the left side with the band around my left leg, I get to work the active functionality. But then when I flip sides and I put it on my right leg, I then work the stabilization on my left leg as well. So both hips get a workout in, just in a different way. One is active, one is more in a stabilization manner. And so while it seems like a very simple exercise, it has a ton of benefits. So this is one that I will for sure keep doing, and make sure that I progress in very well and do it so in a pain-free manner. And this one I do 2 sets, 10 reps, and then a 20-second pause or isometric, just to kind of sit and like squeeze and allow my muscles to really get used to that feeling of, okay, this is what it feels like for these muscles to contract, because I need these muscles on whenever I walk, whenever I do any exercise. I need them there to protect my hips. So yeah, that exercise 100% going to stay in the routine. It's a very good one to have. The next one I have is a single RDL, single leg RDL, sorry, but I have the band pulling my knee inwards. And the reason why I do this is so that I'm then forced to bring it out, again activating those muscles on the outside of my hip. And the cool thing with this exercise is that when you do the RDL, you do some of the main functionality, use the main functionality, sorry, of the glutes, but then also you get that stabilization component because it's bringing your knee in. So it's a very big bang for your buck exercise. You get some of the main functionality of the glutes plus the stabilization functionality of the glutes. And this one I do partial reps because I know I will feel pinching pain. So I want to go just before I feel that, so that everything's pain-free and I'm not aggravating anything. And this one, again, powerhouse exercise. I feel very good after I do it because things are on, things are activated, and a lot of the pain is alleviated off of my hip. And then last but not least, I have these mini bands. So this one's a very heavy-duty one. You can see it's thicker. This one's a very thin one, and I have some more that came in a package today. These ones there's a few exercises I will do. One of them or 3 of them are very similar. Basically, I will put one of the mini bands around my knees, and I will either do isometric holds of a partial squat, a partial RDL, or a glute bridge. And the point of this is that I'm essentially training and strengthening these muscles to be active when I do these movements. And so when I get into a partial squat, I'll get as deep as I can without feeling any pain, and just hold it and have my hips turned on. And you'll feel a nice fiery burn on the side of your butt, so that every time you do this, and it's a very good exercise to kind of just turn things on nicely. And then the same thing goes for the RDL and the glute bridge. I'll be doing it for about 20 to 30 seconds holds for like 2 sets. These just came in, so I haven't tried these yet. But yeah, this is what I plan on doing with them, just so that things turn on when I do those exercises. And another couple exercises that I'm going to do with the mini bands, and these were a staple in my ACL rehabilitation to strengthen my hips, is monster walks and lateral lateral walks. Basically, I will take the band and either attach it around my knees or ankles, and basically then with the monster walks, I'll get into a nice athletic stance and take really wide steps forward and then really wide steps back. And this one is an absolute killer for the entire portion of the hips, on the front, sides, and back. And then the lateral walks, I basically attach again knees or ankles and take steps to the side and back. So both of these together are phenomenal for activating the hip and making sure that everything's turned on in the glutes, to then help and strengthen and protect the hip joint. But also the reason why I did this for my ACL rehabilitation was because having strong, stable hips protects the knees. Fun fact on that. So these are going to be the exercises I do for now. Some of these might stay for the entire protocol, some of these might change. As of right now, other than general flexibility, making sure my hamstrings aren't too tight, trying to stretch my inner thigh, my quads, hip flexors, stuff like that, there isn't going to be too much to do for mobility, to where I really start to push my mobility, because I am limited, and not because of my muscles, but because there is pinching and there's pain. So where there's pinching and pain, I want to stay away from. I want to use pain as a guide, and I don't want to be bashing into the guardrails with it. I just want to stay within my lane and make sure that everything I'm doing is within my guidelines of pain. So as of right now, mobility is not going to be my main focus, but as the pain subsides and as I get more stable, I want to then start to improve my mobility to the point where I can do things like the splits and whatnot. Because I was very close at some point, and then I just kind of fell off with the stretching, and I still remain very flexible, but not near splits level. So that's kind of the goal once the pain subsides. So that's kind of how I'm just going to structure my rehabilitation on my hip, once in the morning and potentially once at night, and doing these sets of exercises with my bands. And this is something I can do in my apartment here, or even go down to the little gym downstairs to get done, 15-20 minutes, and then that's it per day. And there's a part of me that's kind of annoyed with my hip. There's another part of me that's kind of excited, because this is another thing I get to figure out. When I hurt my knee, I got to figure out how to rehabilitate it. It wasn't on my own, I had a coach, but I got to go through that process of figuring out how to make myself pain-free with my knee. And I did stuff on my own afterwards, because there was lingering pain in my knee. So I wanted to make sure I got rid of that. No longer pain with my meniscus or the patellar tendon, which they took the graft from. So it was a cool experience to get to figure that out, and I did. Now my knee has absolutely no pain at all when I do anything. And same thing with my shoulder. There's another thing I got to figure out. There was the training when I had chemotherapy. There was, last summer when I was 170 pounds, I got to figure out how I'm going to get myself out of that and be in good shape again. So for me, this is another thing I get to figure out how to do. And, the best way to help other people is to first help yourself. So yeah, I'm excited to figure this out, so that then I can help other people along the way if they have any hip pain. And so if you do have any issues with your hips, knees, shoulders, whatever, send me a message, and I would love to see how I can help, and maybe we can get you some exercises so that you no longer feel any pain. Because who wants to live a life in pain? Life should be lived pain-free, at least, joint pain-free. So a little bit of pain is necessary here and there. Anyways, thank you for listening. I hope you got something out of this video, and yeah, I will see you in the next one.